FanMouth Fantasy Roundtable. I'm Erin here with Dave and Jeff, and we're going to tell you about our Week 10 quarterback picks for daily fantasy. Dave, who was your quarterback pick this week?
I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers this week of the Chargers against Denver. Phillip Rivers has been inconsistent this year, but he's been the kind of guy that if you can predict his good games, you've gotten very good games. And I think this is one of those matchups where you can predict success. Denver's gone on the road 3 times this year. They made Tony Romo look like an all-pro quarterback. They went up against Andrew Luck's best game of the season. Heck, even Eli Manning had a good game against, relatively speaking, a good game against them. I think that Rivers has had a good game in the games where he's thrown a lot of passes. This is a game where he's going to be throwing a lot. Even Danny Woodhead working his way into the passing game, and that helps Rivers' numbers as well. So I think Rivers is going to be a very good quarterback this week against Denver.
Yeah, no doubt. What will scare some people away from Phillip Rivers is that he's had the highest price tag of the entire season this week. But the thing is, with the matchup, as Dave's talking about, you're likely going to be rewarded anyway. He's still going to put up 25, 26 points, and that's what you need if you're going to spend the $18,000 or so on him. For me, though, I decided to go a little risky this week at quarterback. I mean, you're looking at Matt Ryan here going against Seattle, and that's going to scare a lot of people away. But when you look a little deeper into the stats, as I love to do, you look at Matt Ryan and his success at home this year has been pretty good. And Seattle on the road, not as good. So it ends up being what I think is going to be a very good matchup when you're paying $11,000 for him. He's the 27th highest priced quarterback. It's incredible value, too tough to pass up.
One of the things I do like about the Falcons this week is that Seattle's been such a bad road team. I can see Atlanta being competitive in this game, but I'm not sure that's a good thing for Ryan. I think that if Atlanta's competitive, they'll probably try to run the ball more. Seattle's as good as any team in the league against the pass. I think it's an accident waiting to happen if they come out and they throw the ball 30, 35 times. And so, man, the price is good, but I can't go with it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the matchup being a bad one, and I think it's a little deceptive. Obviously, Seattle has a great pass defense, but when you look at who they've actually played, it's no one impressive. They faced 2 quarterbacks in the top 19. They faced Cam Newton and Andrew Luck, and they averaged between them about 18 points. And if I get 18 points out of Matt Ryan this week, I love the $11,000 price tag.
I do love the $11,000 price tag as well, but his 2 touchdowns to 7 interceptions over the last 2 weeks is not something I can ignore.
Both on the road.
I agree that the road home matchup scenario is a strong one for Seattle. They're much better at home than on the road, but I just can't see Matt Ryan's bounce back week being against Seattle. I just need to see more from him before I'm going to spend any money. I do agree with the Phillip Rivers pick. I think it's a great one. He was just a little bit too expensive for me. He's up there with Drew Brees and Peyton Manning, and I couldn't afford to spend that much based on my other picks. But I went with another cheap quarterback, similar to Matt Ryan, maybe not quite that cheap, and that's Nick Foles. I don't expect him to have the performance he had last week. Nobody does. But I think he showed a lot of promise. His receivers are there. Riley Cooper's breaking out a bit. And I think it's a great matchup against Green Bay, who's been much stronger against the run than they have against the pass. This is the last week that I would go for him, but at his still reasonable price, I think there's a lot of upside.
Well, I'd say a big concern I have about this matchup is Green Bay having lost their quarterback. I don't think you're going to see a Green Bay team now that are going to get involved in a lot of the shootout type games that they have. I think Green Bay now is going to be more of a ball control team, a team that relies on its defense. And so I can see where Green Bay plays more conservatively. I think it's going to make their defense better. And you have to remember, Foles, just a couple weeks ago, he was as terrible as he was good last week. And so which guy are we going to see this week? I don't know. And so, I don't know. I'm not
I think that game was the anomaly, and as opposed to the other 1.5 performances. I mean, you can pick either one. I'm going with this week being a better indicator of his value.
It's not, though. It's you go back to home and road. Nick Foles at home has been atrocious. He's never thrown more than 1 touchdown at home in 6 games. I mean, he's been awful. So that last week, it's not ever going to happen again, of course. And it's going to be one of those things where you look through the record books and you see all these quarterbacks that have thrown 7 touchdowns. You're looking at Nick Foles in 10 years and go, who was that again? You know, what team did he play for? And I don't see it at all. Even Peyton, after his 7 touchdown game, he put up his 2nd worst game of the season the next week because teams obviously are going to focus on defending the pass pretty well, you know? I mean,
Well, he hasn't thrown an interception yet this year, unlike Matt Ryan's 7 interceptions in 2 weeks. So I think there's some risk on both sides for both fairly low prices. So we'll see what happens. Those are our quarterback picks this week.